Have you heard about Anchor? Well, it's one of the easiest ways to create a podcast. Not only is it 100% free, but it has a variety of creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or a computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast to other sites such as Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many others for you. And Anchor even allows you to make money from your podcast without a required minimum listenership. So whether you've been in the podcasting game for a long time or you're completely new to it, Anchor is so user-friendly that it's basically your one-stop shop for making a podcast. So what are you waiting for? Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. You're listening to First Fossil. Because sometimes you simply need someone to help you take that first fossil. Hello and welcome to First Fossil, a show where we learn together how to take that first fossil toward becoming the best versions of ourselves. My name is Candace Olushala, and today's special guest is a children's book author. She's also an entrepreneur and a homeschooling mom of 3. So those of y'all still struggling with kids at home, she's probably a great contact. I'm just saying. So without further ado, please welcome Leah Stein. Nice to meet you. How are you doing, Leah?
Good. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. So I kind of want to know, I've been asking a lot of people since we're transitioning, not transitioning. We're not really sure if we're transitioning out of a pandemic into an endemic kind of situation.
I hope so.
How has the last at least 2 years been for you?
Oh, it's been crazy.
Yeah.
It's just been crazy. And everybody's like, oh, you homeschool, so nothing changed for you. And that is so far from reality that, I mean, as a homeschooler, people will assume that we just sit home and that's what we do. And that's not what we do. We have classes we go to, we have field trips, we have co-ops. I mean, there's a lot of things we do and everything shut down. Just done.
Wow.
The kids had a really hard time. My 2 boys are wrestlers, and the wrestling club shut down. And then we moved in last February out of state, or not out of state, but out of town, just about 2.5 hours from where we used to live.
Yeah.
So it's been like an uproot of all things since the pandemic. And my husband's a chef at a school. So it's really taken a toll on that aspect too, because there's no employees.
Right. Oh, man. See, that misconception about homeschool, like y'all just be sitting watching PBS or something. That is such a lie. I don't know.
Oh gosh, it's so far from the truth.
I don't understand, because I'm thinking now that you've said that, like, you're probably dealing with, because at least I guess it depends on the homeschooling program that you do, but kids often go to other people's homes and they would have to and you said there's field trips. So sometimes some programs you go into a school for a class or some kind of something.
So we weren't doing that, but it's definitely taken its toll.
Yeah, I can imagine it was very complicated still, just trying to readjust. How do you incorporate those things and not lose that? It's still...
and I was pregnant.
And you were pregnant.
Yeah. So I had her in July of 2020. So pandemic hit and I was very pregnant. So I was like, quarantine for everybody. I was like, that's it. We couldn't see friends. We couldn't see family. I was like, that's it. We can't do anything because we had no idea, We didn't know what to expect. We didn't know how long it was going to last. We didn't know if it could hurt the baby. We just didn't know.
Right.
And then I had her during a pandemic, which was a whole nother interesting thing.
Did you have her at home or did you end up going to the hospital?
Yeah, no, I had a C-section,
second
C-section out of 3. So,
man, which means if you had her in 2020, your husband was not in the room with you, right?
Actually, he was.
What?
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
it was tough though. They called me in early. They're like, "Okay, we're gonna get you in early," and then they decide I get there because I was supposed to be originally at noon or 1, and then they called me in to come at 9:30, but they didn't bother to ask me if I'd eaten anything over the phone. So we get there, we get packed up, we get there, they get me on my of all my IVs and everything, and they're like, "Oh, when was the last time you ate?" And I was like, "Well, I woke up at like 3 a.m. so I could eat something because I knew I wasn't going to eat until middle of the night." And they're like, "Oh, well, we can't give you the surgery right now. We can't take you back till at least 1." I ended up going back at 4:30, I think, because somebody before me had COVID and they had to, I guess, completely sanitize the whole room.
Yeah.
Which I know, better safe than sorry, but oh my gosh, it was terrible. It was terrible. But
That's a
that's okay
lot.
because she's here, she's healthy, and I had her,
Yes.
and we're home, and we're good to go.
Yes. Well, I'm very glad that at the end of the day you had a safe delivery and she's
Yeah.
here. Everyone's still got their hands, fingers, and toes. So
Yes.
that's fantastic. But man, I can only imagine the different things you and your husband probably had to just figure out to make sure that your little ones were taken care of and that you guys were
Mhm.
taken care of as well throughout these last 2 years. So I commend you for making
Mhm.
it through, and we're here in 2022, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit more about yourself? We know that you're a homeschooling mom, but tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more from your perspective.
Well, we are very into nature. So that's where the move came from, is a big part of
Mm,
that because we moved. We have 8 acres now of woods. So it's really
mhm.
great for us. But that's where my book came from too. It's called A Boy and a Butterfly. We every year we've had a butterfly garden out front of our last house, and every year we'd collect the eggs and then we'd watch them turn into butterflies from egg, and it was just something we did every year. And
Mm,
so I wrote a book about it,
wow.
and the character's name is based off of my two boys, which is Zachary and Caden. So the character's name is Zayden, and so it's not just a book; it's meaningful to me.
I love that.
I have a business. It's Leah Stein Writing. I write show notes and podcast blog posts for podcasters.
Nice.
Yeah, came into a problem where I don't have time to listen to podcasts all the time, even though I would love to. And then I can't get the content because there's no blog for it. So here I am wanting the content, and I have my long list of all the podcasts, play next, that never get played, or they get played in 5-minute increments here and there. Then I have silence.
Right?
And so I was like, I have to fix this problem. This is ridiculous. So that's where my relaunch happened for my business.
That's that's very creative. That sounds like a pandemic venture.
Right?
I'm just gonna be honest. You
Well,
know.
I mean, think about it. You think, it's like as a podcaster, everybody's like, oh, they can listen. Yeah, everybody has time to listen. No, everybody does not have time to listen.
No.
I don't have the mind's time to listen, but I can sit there and read while I'm cooking dinner, with the baby in the playpen and the boys doing what they're doing. And I can sit there and read, but I
Yes.
cannot listen no matter how hard I try. So,
There you go. She's like, I'm just gonna solve my own solution.
right.
Here
It's
we
just,
go.
yep, got to make it happen.
Bam. I love that. Perfect. So then it sounds like you have several first fossils that you could go down. So
I do. I do.
which one or ones would be your some of your most pivotal first fossil experiences and how have they served you today?
Well, I think my biggest thing would be my family.
Mm,
When I've always wanted a family, I've always wanted kids, I've always wanted that family dynamic. When I was little, my parents split when I was like in third grade, something like that, and it was never a good situation. Lived with my mom for a while. My dad's fantastic, love him to death, have a great relationship with him. My mom, not so much. So after years and years of manipulation and just constant just talking down and on how to say it without pretty much saying it, is she's just verbally abusive.
mm,
And it was like that for a long, long time. And I didn't realize it really. I knew we didn't get along. I knew we fought all the time, but I didn't know that that was what was going on. So I had my first kid. He's 12 now. And it was kind of like I could never treat my child that way ever, ever, ever,
Mm.
ever.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, I can't believe that I let somebody treat me like that. And I'm like, you know what? This can be fixed. We can mend our relationship. We can fix it. We can talk to each other and we can go to therapy. So that's what we did. I talked to my family because I have her side of the family very close to them. Spent summers in Pennsylvania with them, like literally the whole summer. I'd go up for the whole summer, spend the whole time there. Very close to my aunts and my uncles and my grandma, like talk all the time. I mean, I talk to probably my grandma at least once a week for at least an hour every week. And I talked to them before I pursued it. I was like, I need to figure out what to do because I can't keep going on like this. I can't keep dealing with this all the time. Every situation is a guilt trip. Every situation is a problem. Every time I do anything, it's wrong. I need to be able to live my life without constant negativity. And they supported me. They said, okay, great. If she doesn't follow through with, working with you with therapy and everything, then we completely support you to not speak to her anymore. We understand. So we went to therapy few times and I really wanted to try. I wanted to work on it. I even told her, hey, we can start fresh. Let's wipe the slate clean and we'll just take it really slow and easy. And that was not good enough for her. She
Mm.
said, why should we have to take it slow? She
Mm.
didn't get it. Therapist told me, you're either going to have to just deal with it and know that this is how she is and just try not to be upset about it, or you're going to have to kind of break ties. And I was like, well, I cannot ignore it. I can't move forward with anything in my life with that over top of me.
Mm.
So I stopped talking to her. And in turn, my whole family on her side of the family stopped talking to me.
Mm.
So that was a really, really pivotal moment in my life where I grew personally. It still upsets me, to think that there's this whole family who doesn't even know my kids, who I was so close to when I was their age. But, it's been good for us. We have grown our own lives. I learned that I'm an artist. I learned how to use my writing for something that I really like. I learned to build my own family.
Mm.
Um, so it's been a journey, but and then, there's still those moments where I feel like, man, I'm missing half of my family. But I tried to make it better with all of them. I've tried to reach out to them multiple times and just nobody's interested. So to me, that's my point of, okay, if they're not interested, I can't keep pushing. I can't keep getting shut down and told no or
Mm.
just ignored.
Yeah.
So I moved forward and I have created a fantastic life. I love my life. I have a great husband who has been by my side. We just had our 15-year anniversary.
Mm.
I have 3 kids, 12, 9, and 18 months. We homeschool because my husband's a chef. His job takes him away a lot from regular schedules. So the kids would just never see him. So
Right.
that's why we started it, so that we could have that good family dynamic that, solid, where they know their dad. And it's not just that they get to see him over dinner or maybe not
Mm.
even over dinner.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think that's my main pivotal moment in my life.
Wow. That's heavy as well, you know, and it's relatable in
Yeah.
a unfortunate way, really, that you would hope to be in a great relationship with your parents. I think every person ideally would like to have great parental role models who they can have great connection with throughout their
Hmm.
lifetime, who can cheer them on through the things that they go through, who can support them in their life's decisions, who can guide them
Right.
in what they want to achieve. And yet the world doesn't work that way.
No, it
So
doesn't.
how did you actually process through the idea that you wouldn't choose to speak to your mom anymore? Like, how did you find the comfort to actually say that between
Ugh.
having your own kids and saying, is this worth having even a fraction of a relationship,
Right.
or
Well,
what was the
it
balance?
was, there wasn't really a balance. It was just, I was at that point.
Yeah.
My sister was also had made the decision already way before me,
Mm,
and my kids were just coming first, and I couldn't be there for them. I couldn't. I mean, there were many a times where she would call me, and I was just burst into tears after the conversation. And my kids don't need to see me like that.
right.
I mean, they can't. They
Yeah.
should never see me in that position where, unless there's something really wrong.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be emotional and whatever, but to be hurt so bad that you're crying because of somebody, you're letting somebody do this to you, that's not okay. And and so that's really where it came from. And like I said, my family told me they would be behind me on it because they knew how she was. They've always known. I would call them in tears after my call with her, and they would talk me through it, and they understood. And then when reality hit and they realized that she wasn't going to change and it didn't snap her out of it, they stopped talking to me. So I think that was really the hardest part, was them not speaking to me.
Did you see that coming?
No, not at all. It was like I lost my entire family in a plane crash or something.
How did you
I had,
process through that?
lots and lots of tears.
Yeah.
Lots of tears. But like I said, my husband has been fantastic through everything. He's held my hand and let me cry, and, you know, always been supportive of whatever I wanted to do. Anytime I'd say, I'm going to write them a letter, or I'm going to send them a Christmas card, or I'm going to do this, he's like, okay, you do it. If it makes you feel like you need to do it, do it, you know? And so I did. And, after not getting responses and not getting responses, and any response I did get was negative, I was like, okay, you know what? There's more in life than this. There's more to life than this. And you don't always get to pick who your family is, but you do get to pick who are as close to you.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's what I did. I picked who I wanted next to me, and who I want to grow with, and who are the good friends and the good family, and the people who care about me as much as I care about them,
Yeah.
without anything being held over my head, without any repercussions from not doing something, or doing something how I shouldn't do it, or whatever.
Yeah. You had mentioned while you were telling your story how you are still processing through it, like you're not fully over it, though you made this decision.
Right.
So guess my first question from that was, one, how long ago was it since that decision was made and then you lost contact with that whole side of the family?
I would say, I think when my oldest was 3. So, well,
Okay.
maybe, I mean, it's been
It's been
like
a few
8, 9
years.
years, yeah. And,
Okay.
like little things like this conversation right now, I was just thinking, like, man, if they find this, if they see this, they're going to be so upset, and they're going to be like,
Mhm.
that's not true. And they're going to have a fit about it,
Yeah.
you know? And so that gets me a little panicky. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I upset somebody?
Mm.
So that's kind of what I mean by I'm not quite over it. And the holidays were here, and I'm like, man, I wish I could see them. I wish they knew my kids.
Yeah.
I wish, but it's not going to happen because I've tried.
Right.
So that's kind of what I mean by not quite over it. Like there's still these moments. It's not all the time. It's definitely moments,
Mhm.
but they're there.
Yeah. I guess my follow-up question from that is how or do you even see yourself having improved in your healing journey since that moment? Like what were the things that helped or are continuing to help you process through it with each year that passes not hearing from them?
I think what has helped is therapy. I went to therapy a lot,
Mhm.
talking to my friends, talking to, you know, having a good relationship with the family that I do have left that
Mhm.
speaks to me, and building my own life
Yeah.
without any repercussions. I don't have any judgment and nothing. It's just I have my life how I want to have my life.
Yeah.
My I mean, until this happened, I didn't have my life. I
Mm.
thought I had my life. I thought I was living my own life, but I wasn't. I was living the life based on what they thought was okay or not okay, or not they. I want to say more my mom than anybody. But,
Mhm.
I guarantee if they were around when I started homeschooling, there would be some major opinions on that.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I'd be ruining my kids for life, and there'd be unsocialized homeschoolers, which is totally not even a thing. But um there'd be a lot of judgment.
Yeah.
So I was able to make my decisions, and I grasp onto that I can make my own decisions. I can do what I want to do. I can be who I want to be. If I want to publish a book, I can publish a book. If I want to start a business, guess what? I did it, and nobody told me that I couldn't.
Yeah.
Nobody said, "Oh, are you sure you want to take that chance?" I don't know. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things that I didn't do in life because I knew that it wasn't going to be accepted,
Mm.
or that I wasn't going to have any support in it. So now I don't have to do that anymore. I don't have to think about that. I only think about what I need and what my
Mm.
family needs.
Yeah.
So that's pretty and a mindset coach. My mindset coach has really
Mm.
helped me.
Yes, coaching.
She's fantastic. I never even thought that was like a thing that I would ever do.
Mm. I like that you've done therapy and coaching because a lot of people think you have to do one or the other, but they're totally different.
They are totally different. I never realized what coaching was until I did it. And I have to say I like coaching better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it a lot better.
Yeah.
Because it makes me figure out my own solutions,
Right.
So,
Right.
like, my brain processes it differently. I'm not just getting it out. I'm actually processing it in my brain and saying, "Oh, well, I need to do this, this, and this to make it work."
Yes. I like that. I like that a lot. It's very interesting to me how, you know, in adulthood or as we're getting older and we recognize the relationships that are healthiest versus the relationships that are not, and trying to figure out how to maneuver that. I feel
Hmm.
like it's so different for each person, and there's different there's different stages of life that I think push us to have to make those types of decisions as to whether it's, is this really serving me? Is this really worth it? And
Right.
especially as a mom, like as a mom, as a wife, you have to go, when it was just me, maybe I could have somewhat tried to maneuver this a little better. But now that I have kids, now that I
Hmm.
have a husband, now that I'm in a family unit where this is not just affecting me, it's affecting those that I help take care of and connect with daily, and I'm to pour into their upbringing and to, support them in their goals and dreams. If this is causing me to not be my best self in that process,
Right.
I you get to that space where you say, "You know what? This is probably the healthiest," even if everyone else doesn't necessarily agree or they're like, "No, like, you can try again." And it's like, "No, there's 2 adults now in this situation. This is not an adult and
Right.
a child." Right?
Yeah.
So when it gets to that adult child space, it's harder, but in the adult space, now we're on even playing fields.
Right.
Now
We're
we're
on different grounds.
exactly, we're on different grounds, we're on different playing fields, and my choices in life go beyond the blood that runs through our veins that we share. Like, that's
Yeah.
just what it is. And I heard a quote a couple weeks ago that said something along the lines of uh like like being family is uh it's like something like being family is relative is like a being family is a I can't even think of it. Something along the lines of something along the lines of family is a is a verb, but a relative is a noun.
Okay.
So like family is actionable. Like you show that you're family versus you're my relative.
Right.
That's just a fact. Like
Right.
we're related.
Yeah.
Okay. But that does not necessarily mean we are family. And I think we kind of mix, I feel like we mix that up a lot in
Oh,
society.
I agree completely. A lot of people do that. I mean, I did for years and years and years and years. I
Yeah.
mean, my husband, I remember this one time when we were, I don't know, maybe newly married or shortly after. I don't know. My mom would always call me with these random things. Hey, my computer won't print or whatever. And I would just pick up and run and go help her because, if I didn't, she would freak. So I did it. And when I got home, he's like, at what point are you going to stop? Go and run into her every beck and call. We're building our life together. I
Mm,
need to know you're going to be here,
yeah.
And he didn't quite put it that way, but that was the general idea of it. And that's what I took from it that, man, why am I putting her first above us? Why am I
Mm,
putting her first above me?
yeah.
You know, and that's something that most people don't ever have that aha moment.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's a hard aha moment to realize that my whole life I spent catering to her and doing whatever she wanted or needed based on fear of being, I don't even know. I don't know what I was afraid of. Being
Right.
yelled at, being put down,
Right.
being disowned.
Mm,
That was her favorite thing to threaten was being disowned, taken out of
mm,
the will. I'm like, I don't care. Take me out of the will.
yeah.
I don't want to be in your will.
Right. Yeah. Man.
So, you know, there's a lot to it. It's the the connection. If you don't have that actual connection, then it doesn't matter. Like I
Mhm.
was thinking about the other day, my kids. So, my kids will come and they'll lay on my lap and they'll tell me their worries and their, whatever. I don't remember ever, ever, ever doing that with my mom.
Mm,
I don't remember any like moments like that. You know what I mean? Like, because you could think back and, you know, my kids feel comfortable coming to me and crying on my shoulder or, telling me their woes and what's wrong and whatever. And I never did that with her ever.
mm,
I mean, I've done it with my dad 1,000 times and I can remember those times
yeah.
because he was there for me,
Yeah.
but like, I want my kids to remember that. I want to be that better person for them. I want to have the open arms for them. No
Yeah.
judgment, no nothing.
Yeah. And it's amazing that you chose that because you also you had an option, right? Like you
Hmm.
you were blessed to have a situation that though your parents got divorced when you were younger, you basically had two styles of parenting, one
Hmm.
that was healthy and one that was unhealthy. And you could have
Right.
gone either way, honestly. And a lot
Right.
of people choose to lean into what causes them bitterness because it's completely taken them over.
Well, and it's
Even
easier.
yes.
It's easier. There's no fight there. You just go with the flow. I mean, this has been a family dynamic on that side of the family for a very long time.
Mm,
Um, so like it shows in the path of life, like through my grandma and everybody. It's definitely a pattern, and it's done. I'm not going to continue with a pattern of unhealthy relationships.
mm. And that's the thing. It's like who's going to choose to break the cycle,
Right.
right?
Yep.
So whether or not you had a dad, like if you had say your dad was the same as your mom, you still had a choice. You get
Yeah,
a
it would have
choice
been
to say
harder.
it would have been a lot harder, right? Because you
Right.
didn't have that example that was immediate to you. You would have had to try to
Right.
like find a good example. And some people are unfortunately in that situation where they are
Mm-hmm.
having to like see if there's anything better than their situation. And sometimes their own situation is so heavy that even when they see something better, they don't even believe it's like fully better. They're like, nah,
Right. Or
there's
like it's not even a
something is
real thing.
happening. Exactly.
Yeah.
Something is happening behind closed doors that we don't know about. And they just assume the worst no matter what. Because that's
Right.
all they know. But you still have a choice. Like you might not even realize it. You might not feel it. You might not have even really sat and considered how you would do that. You might not know where to start, but you have a choice to say, do I want to continue this toxic parent child relationship that I've seen like with
Mm-hmm.
my own two eyes from generation to generation to generation and start something afresh and something beautiful and inviting and creative? Or do I just want to keep on keeping on with the whole family? Let's all be toxic together.
Right.
No one wants to
Nobody
it,
wants to do that.
no one really actually wants to do that, but some people fall into it
Right.
because they're so engulfed by how painful it's been, and it's taken over their thoughts, their feelings, how they show up in the world, how they see their kids, how they
Yep.
see their spouses, how they see their everyone is like I it's just ugly. It's just an ugliness out there.
Well, it's a cycle. It's really hard to break, and it's hard to step away. And had I known that my whole family would stop talking to me, I don't know that I would have stepped away.
Mm,
Had I known that they were going to just never speak to me again, I don't know that I would have had the courage to walk away from that.
mm,
So, there's that too. It's hard.
layers.
Yeah, exactly. It's layers. And
There's
but
layers.
I still believe it was one of the turning points in my life that made my marriage better. It made my family dynamic better with my kids. It made me be a better parent.
Mm,
A lot of times where I'm like, I'm not going to be that person.
yeah.
But I mean, there's also a lot of times where I scream and yell at the kids, and because it's going to happen. They're kids and they don't listen.
Yeah.
But you know,
Yeah.
but then I sit back and I'm like, man, okay, how was that different? And I'm like, okay, I'm not her. Because I
Yes.
went back and I talked to them and got to the root of it, and there's a difference in me just having a moment of, okay, you guys need to put your shoes on your feet so we can leave the house.
Yeah.
Versus just constantly putting people down and leaving it at that.
Mm, yeah. There's always layers.
Hmm.
And if you knew that, let's say that your family didn't separate from you too. Like, let's say they're all still in your life and it's really just you and your mom. Do you think that you would have just tried to find more ways to not have to be in as much contact with her? So that way it was like fewer and far between? Or like, do you think you would have been able to say, just respect my decision to not speak to my mom, and I totally don't have a problem with everyone else? How do you
I
think
think
you would
I
have
would
framed
have
it?
totally been okay with that because they live in a different state for one.
Oh, that's
And
distance is very helpful. I'm not
right.
gonna lie.
And in reality, like the only thing that we ever did all together was like Christmas or whatever. I just wouldn't attend,
Okay.
but I wasn't given that option.
Right.
It was just all or none. And they feel bad for her that she doesn't have her daughters and her grandkids. And I have tried so many times and, just got nowhere with her.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I did therapy with her. I've written her multiple letters. I tried to start out from just nothing and say, let's just start completely over. And her response was, well, I've never done anything wrong. So why do we have to start over?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do with that?
Right.
There has to be two people that want to make a change, not just
Right.
one.
Right.
So,
That
yeah, I think that I could have been able to have a relationship with everybody had they been accepting of that.
mm, yeah. And at least it probably would have been even more dramatic if you didn't also have a sister who had already been ahead of you in that process.
Yeah,
So,
we at least had each other in the
yeah.
everything.
Yeah. They technically saw the trickle effect of how it was, like, causing more of her children to step away. So they
Yeah.
also have an opportunity, and, just the idea that a lot of parents do actually believe that they've made no mistakes, and I've had to sit in that
Mhm.
idea myself, like, why would a parent just say, "I've not made a mistake?" And this is me playing devil's advocates for the parents that we don't really understand why they speak to us or treat us the way that they do. And I think a lot of it also is there's there are things, obviously you saw the dynamic between your grandmother and your mother, and so there's things about their parent-child relationship
Mhm.
that has caused them to probably convince themselves that I'm gonna show my parent that I'm better, and it ended up being the complete opposite, but their glasses are so tinted in their worldview on how they view themselves, like, it's their way of saying, "This is me feeling secure for myself, like,
Right.
I'm perfect." It's probably the opposite of what she heard from her own mom. Her mom more than likely told her that she's not gonna amount to anything, that she made empty threat all those threats to her and everything, so this is the option she chose and how she executes her parenting and says, like, "No, like, everything that I feel like I've done, I think is better than what I saw or what I experienced," which,
Yeah.
unfortunately, parents make mistakes even in their best efforts. Parents
Right. I mean, it's
don't
inevitable. How are
it's
you not going to
inevitable.
make a mistake? I mean,
Right.
new to everybody.
Everyone is capable of making mistakes, even parents, but not every parent, especially parents who are still hurting from the verbal, physical, emotional, mental abuse from their own upbringing. It's harder for them to see that. And so when
Mhm.
that gets piled up every generation, hopefully at some point, like for you, it becomes too suffocating to have to continue it, right? To
Yeah.
say like, I'm gonna choose let's assume that I do make mistakes. Let's assume that I'm hurting. Let's assume that I'm going through a lot of stuff that I need to address and go through. Let me see if I can find a better option than saying like I handle this, I got this, I don't need anybody, I can do that. And like I did everything perfect. That's a defensive mechanism. And unfortunately, her being defensive or parents that are defensive about how their upbringing is based on their own pain, which you can't heal. That is not your
Right.
responsibility as her child. She has to go through that healing, and those types of parents have to go through that healing on their own. Unfortunately, choosing not to try to see if it's possible that even in whatever you think you did right, that it affected someone negatively, even to say it like that.
Yeah.
Right? You doing what you think is best doesn't necessarily mean it was received in the best way for that person.
Right.
So, that's a journey she has to go on, and you're not responsible for that journey, but you are responsible for the journey that you want to go on with your own family and your own kids, and I commend you for choosing this journey, as painful as it probably was to realize that in making this decision there was a whole other dynamic in losing the rest of my family that I didn't even know was going to happen, and
Right.
still standing in your decision enough to say, though I'm gonna try to reach out and make amends with that part of the family, if my efforts do not work, if they fall on deaf ears, I will still choose me and my family because that right now in this season of my life is what serves me best, and
Mm-hmm.
I need to protect that. So I really want to
Right.
commend you for that, because not everyone actually does that. And they do have their kids like, why is mom always like frustrated and like she's still
And
trying to talk to grandma and
angry and
grandma is like
sad.
mean and exactly.
I mean, could you imagine if I would have I just I'm glad that I did it before the kids were old enough to know them and know that they walked away,
Mm, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
because that would have killed them. I mean,
Yeah.
they would have hurt them so bad. And nope.
Yeah. I really do commend you for how you've processed this and how you're still choosing to process through it through therapy and coaching and making sure that you are doing everything that you can as a parent to make sure you're cleansing yourself of whatever the residual effects of those years and years of toxic communication
Yeah.
did in your life. So that way for every time you go into a therapy session, for every time you go into a coaching session, for every time you have that conversation with your husband and you or with a friend or you speak on a podcast, like that's another opportunity for you to shed a layer of
Yeah.
that and to put on a new layer of a better version of the person you want to be and you want to pass on to your children and create a completely different legacy. So that is
Yes.
really cool. That's very
Well, thank
powerful.
you.
So with everything that you've gone through and processed and are still walking through today, what for you would be the top 3 lessons that you would want to pass on to someone who might be in that space where they're trying to decide whether continuing that unfortunately toxic relationship with a parental figure is not serving them in the stage of life that they're in?
The top three. One is that I am more important than that relationship.
Mm,
Me as a person and my goals and my life is more important than a relationship because I can't build on anything without my own self.
yeah.
Um, Lesson number two is my immediate family is more important than anything
Mm,
with myself, of course.
right.
And and lesson number three would be that if you don't try, you don't know what will happen. Um,
Mm,
like I said, I tried therapy, I tried to reach out to my family, I tried and tried and tried. And I didn't know. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Now I know. I tried enough that I've exhausted all my efforts. And short of me saying, okay, I quit, I'm going to go back to them, that I know where they stand
yeah.
and I know where I stand.
Yeah.
So those would be my top three lessons.
That's very good. That's very good. Sometimes being selfish is healthy.
Right.
There's a healthy balance when it comes to selfishness, depending on the relationships that are in your life that you're trying to maneuver
Yeah.
and figure out.
Well, I'd never
So,
put myself first. So
mm,
there was a big change for me to say, you know what do I want?
yeah,
What's something that I really want?
yeah,
And where do I want to be in my life?
yeah. Love it. I love it. This is a great conversation that I think people will resonate with. And I think a lot of also with just how the world's been evolving over the last few years, especially the last 2 years, people are pushing themselves to have these decisions like what is most important, because the pandemic also kind of triggered this need for all of us to really assess the importance of what's in our life. What is
Yes.
actually serving me? Or is this a dead weight I've been carrying for X amount
Mm-hmm.
of years?
Yep.
So we are literally in like everybody's going through like an emotional, mental, spiritual, relational, just goodwill donating season. We just take it. I don't need that. I don't need, do you want it? I don't want it. You can have
Right.
it.
Oh
It's like,
yeah.
I don't want it.
Totally.
So this is great. I'm glad you started early and you're still on your journey. And to I'm excited to see how that actually affects you in the next 10 or so years for when your kids are in their 20s and in their 30s, and how you're going to see the difference, the fruit of your decision.
Yeah.
The fruit of your decision will play out tremendously in how you see your children in their adulthood and how they
Right.
relate to you. So you'll be able to look back and go, this was worth it. To see my child in our connection like this, that pain that I had back there, that unfortunate circumstance was worth every bit of it to see this happen. And then
Right.
to see it with their kids, and then see it with their kids. You've just created a completely different legacy, and that is going to be the reward in the process of you going through what you're going through. So very excited for you, Leah.
Well,
Like
thank you. I
really,
never
really,
really thought of it that way. You gave me
yeah.
goosebumps.
There
But
you go. There you go. Just wanted to inspire you because I
well,
am
thank
very
you.
inspired by your story.
Well,
So
thank you.
thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with me and my audience. How can people contact you or find you if they want to reach out and they have questions?
My website is leahstein.com, and it's Stine. Everybody does it the other Stein. Um, and I am on Instagram and Facebook under Leah Stein Writing.
Perfect.
So if you want to reach out, you're welcome to.
Perfect. Guys, reach out to her. Homeschooling moms, reach out to her. Pretending like they homeschooling moms, but they know that their kids should be in school like public school moms. You reach out to her. She probably got some tips and tricks for you.
If you need
And
help, I'd love to help.
there you
Whatever
go.
I can.
There you go, guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to today's episode. If there are any topics you guys want covered in the future, any situations, please hit me up in the DMs on social media. I'm at Candace Olushala. And you can also email me at hola@firstpaso.com. You can go on my website, www.firstpaso.com. Multiple ways to reach out to me. And you can even text me. Guys, I love getting texts from you. So 859-800-3396 is my number. Please message me and I will gladly respond to your text. Thank you guys for the journey that we've gone on. I feel like we've been picking at some really challenging topics, and this is one of them. So I really hope that this topic served you guys well. And feel free to share it with your loved ones, with friends, people that you know that are trying to go through this process too. And let us know how it's serving you. Let us know what you took. What were the gems from this conversation that you got that you want to take into your future and maybe pass on to your loved ones as well? So hope to hear from you guys soon. Stay safe. Rona out here playing with listeria and all sorts of friends. So just stay safe. Okay. Everybody be safe and continue to progress. Enjoy who you are and don't let other relationships get in the way of loving you and the people you truly want to pour into. We'll talk soon, guys. Leah, thank you again, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.